Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York. And if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. It's a great topic, great question today. You guys are giving me great topics. Please keep the comments coming with requests. So the topic today is double closing versus assigning. So let's explain what we're talking about here. So about half the properties I buy, I assign them. I wholesale them. What that means is that I go into contract and then I assign the contract to somebody else. Now, in a lot of other states, there is an option really to double close, which means you will close on the purchase and then sell the property. A couple of reasons why it's a lot more difficult and probably not recommended in most cases in New York. So first of all, the closing costs in a lot of other states several $100s. So if you're going to double close on a property, you're going to pay a few $100s to buy and a few $100s to sell. If you're making a $20,000 or even a $15,000 assignment fee, you may want to do that. So why would somebody want to double close? They would want to double close because they don't want the buyer or the seller to see that they're making money in between. Now, a couple of thoughts on that. Whoa, almost kicked this thing over. Sorry, Stan. So a couple of thoughts on that. In other states, I understand that concept because it's so easy to get in or out of contract that if a seller gets to a closing and he sees you're making $15,000, $20,000, he may go, screw this, I'm not going to sell to you, and I will find my buyer myself. The buyer might show up and go, I'm in contract for $120,000 and the seller's selling it for $100,000. Screw that, I'll find somebody who'll sell to me for $100,000. That could happen. That doesn't happen in New York because in New York, it's so hard to get into contract and it's impossible to get out of contract. So I'm going to tell a story, famous story. I'll tell two stories about it. The first one is I had a $120,000 assignment fee for a property in Great Neck, New York. And the seller was a very militant guy who was constantly complaining that he was getting screwed. And I said to my attorney, I'm scared this guy's going to freak out at the closing. And my attorney said such beautiful words to me which is why I love doing business in New York. And he said to me, the guy might be upset that you're assigning the contract for $120,000, but he can't sell it to anybody else but you. In New York, the laws are so strong once you're in contract that if he wouldn't want to sell it to me and I wanted to actually go through the transaction, I could sue him for specific performance for the entire amount. Also, what I can do is I can put a list pendants on the property, which is just like what a lender does in case of a foreclosure, which would prevent him from selling the house to anybody else ever. So the deal closed. I made $120,000 minus some expenses. It was a great deal. Another story is I had a property where we were in contract multiple houses. And I couldn't really let the seller know that I was assigning the first ones because I was afraid of what would happen on the other ones. So in that case, I double closed 5 houses. It cost me $40,000. Now it was the best deal I ever did. It was I was in contract on these 5 houses for $750,000, and I found from one seller, I had one buyer who was taking them all for $975. So it's $225. But it cost me $40,000 to double close, because closing costs are crazy. Now, you might say, holy crap, $40,000. Now, I needed to do it, and I still made $185,000, which was the best deal I've ever done, and I'm thrilled about it. So there was a lot of room. But think about what those closing costs are. So in New York, you have transfer tax, which is $4 per thousand. This was a big number. You have title charges. You have, if you need transactional funding, you got to pay a transactional funder to fund you the money that you're going to on the purchase before you sell. So there's a lot of costs, and I don't think double closing really makes sense in New York because, as I said, the seller can't get out, and the buyer that's in contract to buy can't get out either. You're pretty much locked up in New York. In other states, I understand where people can leave a closing table and get up and just say, "I'm not doing it." Here, you can't, and the costs are more. So those two reasons that really there's no way for the buyer or the seller to walk away when they see that you're assigning it, and most of the time when I'm assigning it, the people know it's an assignment. But it's a seller more than the buyer. But in the main reason is the closing costs are too high. So it's not something you really want to do in New York, unless you have a crazy situation like I had, where I was in contract on 7 properties and I was only buying 5 now, and the other 2 were complicated. So I didn't want to get into it with them and get into a battle over the other 2. In the end, it worked out great. But that is just the way I believe. I don't see the point in New York of double closing. It's expensive, and it doesn't really accomplish what it's meant to accomplish, which is to prevent people from walking away from the closing table, which can't happen in New York anyway. So I don't recommend them in New York at all. I understand that there could be situations where a seller's not happy with you if you're signing a contract. It could be situations where a buyer's not happy when he sees how much you're getting. But in the end, I think most people, most buyers here are adult enough to know that there's going to be a spread, and even if it's huge, it's huge. I have bought a property from a wholesaler where he was made almost $200,000 on it. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I think he was in it for 100, and I bought it for 300, close to that. And there was a little bit of angst in me going, wow. But the truth is, I bought it for a price that I was happy with. And you got to be a big boy in this business, and you can't count other people's money. So the fact that guy got locked it up for 100 grand, good for him. He took his 200 and he ran. I think it was 175 or something. I think I bought it for 275. But it's just the reality. So I would say never double close in New York unless it's a specific reason you have to. Like there's another transaction involved. Never double close because you think somebody's going to get upset. And never double close unless you really look at how much the costs are going to be, because it's much more in New York than any other place. Those are my thoughts. If you want information on how I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. And if you like these videos, please click like. Thank you very much for a lot of likes. It's been helping my SEO, so keep liking. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you have any comments or requests for videos, please put them in the show notes. I'm happy to please put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. And don't be afraid if you think it's too stupid, or if you think that I've done it recently, I might have done to handle that topic. If I have done that topic recently, I'll send you a video. I'll send you a link to the video I've done. There are no stupid questions. There are no sometimes I am guilty, very guilty, of assuming that people know what I know, and I know people that are starting out don't. So don't feel bad at all about asking any questions in the comments that you have. I'm here to help you in any way I can. My office phone number is in the notes if you want to call me. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.